Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday morning Mortgage Coach coaching call. We're always focused to deliver the absolute best sales meeting every week in the industry. So for all you sales managers, hopefully you're taking notes and you're bringing this content into your sales meetings that you're having. If anybody's new to this coaching call or to the Mortgage Coach community, connect with the best mortgage pros in the business. Make sure you connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube page. Sometimes I'm commenting on Twitter. My goal and my focus, and something I believe to my core, is that your advice is your ultimate competitive advantage. It's your ultimate value proposition. So we're always trying to help you have a deeper, deeper execution and deeper connection with what is your why. Now, from a mortgage coach perspective, we really design our software, our tools, everything that we do around helping families get into homes faster with mortgages. So we're designing these tools for you as mortgage professionals, but we're designing it for the families to get into homes and to help realtors help families get into homes. That's why putting our solutions in a mobile framework so people get this information everywhere they need to get this information, it's more important than ever. It's more important that both the home buyer and the realtor are connecting with mortgage options. This coaching call, like all of our coaching calls, will be recorded. So within an hour or two of this event, it will be uploaded into our YouTube channel. If you do not already subscribe, go and subscribe to that so that you get the alerts. A couple quick debriefs on last week's coaching call, which, by the way, Tim and John, I don't know if you were on it, but it was probably the best reviewed coaching call of all times. I mean, everybody gave it a 5 out of, 1 out of 5. Everybody but 1 or 2 people gave it a 5. Got a couple of good ratings. So Hal just knocked it out of the park. He has an amazing story. By the way, John or Tim, do either one of you guys know of Hal?
I don't.
So he was the all-time best Cutco knife salesman back in his youth, and then he's got a great story of how he, almost lost his life, and that story was gut-wrenching, and some just great comeback stories. He's got a book called The Miracle Morning. Really, all I want to do, I don't want to get into the details of this teaching, because if you did not hear the call, go back and listen to the call. But there were some core messages, being grateful for everything, creating daily progress towards becoming the person you need to be to accomplish a vision, which I know both of you guys, we could go pretty deep just on these 2 insights. But I just wanted to drive some reminders around the call. Did you have a miracle morning today? Have you actually taken action on the messages that you pulled from that call? If not, this is a reminder to do it. And if you missed that call last week, I mean, it was exceptional. We've added it to our key coaching call playlist. And I just encourage anybody and everybody to watch it, not only personally, but share it with your family. It was really awesome. So that was my reminder on that. Also, I wanted to do a little bit more than a shout out for a really awesome video that came out yesterday. A good friend of Mortgage Coach, Ryan Hills, who's a regional leader for a large national lending platform and a partner of Mortgage Coaches up in the Northwest Territory. I mean, this guy just creates the best video show in the mortgage industry for realtors and for mortgage professionals. In this particular video, everybody's got to check it out. I mean, it's just 3 or 4 minutes, but he really nets out why video matters to realtors, and he does it in a way that provides a lot of leadership and a lot of value for mortgage professionals. So a couple key concepts that I want to make sure everybody pulls from it. According to NAR and Google, they did a joint research, and 92% of home purchases are starting online. And according to this research, 3 weeks before they call an agent, so before reaching out to an agent, they're already doing some research online via mobile. So, obvious takeaway, make sure you have a good online presence so that you're maximizing that opportunity. According to this research, 85% of buyers and sellers want an agent who has video marketing, and only 15% of agents actually have what's a really intentional video presence. So huge opportunity, great leadership. We all know the saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So they're just making a point on the power of visual value in video. This was some math that was presented from some research by Foresters. I personally don't know how they did this math, but they came up with the concept that a 1-minute video is worth 1.8 million words. So if anybody figures out exactly how that adds up, I do want to know. But I do know that it makes a lot of sense that video improves retention. This was a pretty well vetted fact that listing inquiries, if there's a video, are getting 400% more inquiries. I believe that. Again, Ryan Hill, thanks for the shout out, including myself and Mortgage Coach. A few last takeaways, and then we'll get into the meat of today's call. It increases click-through rates by 1 to 2 times. I know that to be a fact. I didn't know this. If you put video in the subject line, it gets open 19% more time. It gets clicked through more, so good to know. And I'm going to close this and get into the meat of today's call with, this is an exceptional study. It doesn't take a lot of time to go through. It was highly visual. It did just a fantastic job of making it very clear that today's loan officers should be using mobile and should be using video to deliver advice to home buyers, and they crushed it. And it became very clear, and it was a great evidence that if you're a Mortgage Coach loan officer, you've got a game-changing competitive advantage. So hopefully everybody on this call, you'll go and listen to that 4-minute video afterwards. I put a link in our Facebook post. Tim, any comments from either you or John before we get into the conversation?
No, I don't have any comments. I can't speak for John, though. Maybe he has some feedback. Johnny?
No, I'm good. Thanks for pointing out those videos, Dave. I took a couple of notes. I'll definitely check those out.
Good. Well, let's get into the conversation at hand. I've got 2 awesome special guests who are not only amazing, industry leaders, but they become close personal friends, both through these relationships. I don't know how many dinners we've had together. I don't know how many years we've known each other, but it's been well over a decade. So Tim Braheem, I don't think needs a lot of introduction because most of you know him. If you don't, Tim created just a fantastic video around his perfect loan process that dates back to when he founded Loan Toolbox and when he was among the top loan officers in America. So Tim is just an exceptional leader and knows the mortgage experience better than anybody. And he's a coach today. So Tim, welcome to the call. It's great to have you, my friend.
Hey, always nice to join your community, Dave, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you, brother. John Weller, this guy, John, how many years have you been a Mortgage Coach member and user?
I think I was a beta tester, wasn't I? I was close. So
yeah, so
more than I want to admit, and probably in the vicinity of 15.
Yeah, you were probably one of the first 100 Mortgage Coach loan officers, maybe one of the first 50, but more importantly, you were among the first that really integrated this into your workflow and made it part of how you deliver advice to home buyers. And I can remember interviews, I don't know, pre-2007, pre-meltdown, you were the first one that we had at our first live event. And you've just always been a great leader to Mortgage Coach and to our community. So it's good to have you, brother. Real quick for anybody that, yeah, no problem. Anybody who doesn't know your story, if you could just give a little bit of backstory of what market you're in, what kind of production levels you do, so they just have a feel for your mortgage practice.
I'm in the Denver market. I work for Megastar Financial. We're a banker. I've been doing it just over 20 years. I started in '93. And the last decade, it's been somewhere in the vicinity of 70 to 100 million a year on usually 300 to 400 units a year.
Wow, how you doing this year so far?
I'm sucking a little bit on the wind. Not the greatest. I think the last 3 months has been great. We're in the kind of the 20 units a month zone, but our first quarter was real low, so we have to rally to end up having a $70 million year this year. It's looking like, at least at this point, it's one of the lighter years in the last 4 or 5. But I feel like it's been such a huge surge, really, since the meltdown. We saw just tremendous growth from 08 through 11, 12, and 13 were just all really stellar years. And I think the Mortgage Coach tools have been a big part of that. And that definitely, I've always been all about getting coached and being involved in coaching, and I think using the tools and using the resources is part of the key.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, by all measures, regardless of market conditions, John is a one percenter in this mortgage industry. I mean, whether, obviously Q1 was tough for everybody. Nobody had a crushing year that was an advice-based loan officer. So you were not alone in your pain, but regardless, you're always performing in the top 1%. And not only are you getting those levels of success, the way you're successful, the way you deliver advice, it's to me just a role model to the industry. So first of all, thanks for taking some pictures and sharing your team. By the way, who is this that you're in the picture with? And tell us a little bit about
Donna.
your
That's
team.
my transaction manager, Donna.
And how many people do you have on your team?
We have 3 processors, her, and then I have 3 or 4 junior loan officers generally at any given time.
Got it. So when we think of the number of loans you're closing, you've got a team of 3 on helping you sales.
Yeah, we just added a processor, so because we're trying to upgrade that component. So we're a little bit heavy, but we're basically 30 to 40 transactions a month is sort of what our traditional history is. And then
that's what
the 2 full-time processors and a transaction coordinator, and then usually 3/4 of the business is mine, and then maybe a third of it or a quarter of it is my loan officers.
Okay, good. Well, I just want to make sure everybody understood the resources that you have to get the kind of success that you have. Nevertheless, the way I structured this conversation and the prep that we did is that Tim is a great leader and he's a coach to John. John has been to Tim's retreat. They've got a coaching relationship. I wanted to find out what has John learned over the past year? What is he doing to drive success? So one of the things that we pulled out, and everybody knows I've been doing a lot of talking around how important it is to have a good why and to have a clear why that aligns with your business value proposition. So Tim, we know this is something that John has grown. So let's just have a conversation and let's kind of kick it off, Tim, with you have some philosophies on, whenever you start working with people, you help them get more intentionality around their why. So why don't you start with that, and then John, let's roll into 1, what is your why, and 2, how are you using that in the sales process with realtors? So Tim, you're up to that one, brother.
Okay, no problem. Hello, everyone, and good morning. I think that what's really most important to understand, and Sinek talks about this on his TED Talk, and in his book, is that it really starts with you getting really, really clear on what your why is and what your intentions are. And this is this is kind of the secret, when you go all the way back about 15 years ago with that book, and that the video that everybody watched back a decade ago about manifestation and all of that. It doesn't matter if it's your business, if it's your personal life with relationship, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, the laws of the universe are pretty clear. It's that the clearer your intention, the clearer that you are on what you're wanting to create, the more, God, the universe, whatever it is that you choose to refer to it as, will deliver. And I think that's really what Sinek is saying in his video, if you look at the deeper meaning of it. And what he's saying is that, in the examples that he gives, is the more clear you are on what your why is, what's important to you, what your core values are. And in my case as an originator, we'll let John in a moment speak to his, it was clearly that I wanted to make sure that when somebody finished talking to me, that they felt really, really clear on this important financial decision that they're about to make as it relates to the largest indebtedness that they'll ever take on in their life. And I use the total cost analysis and other tools within the Mortgage Coach to really embody and explain that. And what Sinek talks about is the more clear you are on your purpose, the more you will attract like-minded people into your life who are going to align with that purpose. And he uses Apple computers, and he uses the Wright brothers, and he uses Martin Luther King as his 3 core examples. So for each and every one of you, and what we really like to teach in the Leadership 360 program, and we watched this video on retreat the very first night in Costa Rica, is like, what is it that you're doing here? I mean, is it, do you have a competing intention in place? I mean, as an example, is your intention to do really good by people, but yet at the same time you have a competitive intention, which is, like I want to make the most money possible, and are those two fighting against each other? And really try to strip down and get clear on like, what is this about? I mean, why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you go to work? Why do you do this for a living? And the more clear that you get on that, you start to really remove a lot of the hurdles from the process, and you start to really attract the type of people, the type of realtors you want to work with, the type of CPAs you want to work with, and the type of clients that you want to work with. And if you're an owner of a company and you're recruiting, the type of loan originator that you want to work with. Or if you're John Weller and you're out there trying to get a new processor, as he just mentioned, the more clear he is on his why in the business, the more he's going to attract a processor that is going to align with that why, and then they're going to be a very formidable team as a result. So toss that back to you, Dave, and you can run with it.
Well, I'm going to say something quickly, and then John, bring you into the conversation around what is your why as an originator, as a mortgage coach, and how are you leveraging that, using that with realtors and borrowers. But I've been asking this question now for almost this entire year when I interview a loan officer on a mortgage coach call, and when someone new to mortgage coach comes on, or when I'm talking to a CEO that's a mortgage coach partner. And what I have come to see as a truth is that the whether it's the CEO I'm talking to, whether it's the loan officer I'm talking to, when their day-to-day execution aligns with their why, regardless of what that why is, they are vastly more successful. And so I just ask everybody on this call, and I've been pounding this drum now for months. So if you're getting tired of it, sorry, but I think I just have a very firm belief that it starts with why, and it ends with accountability to do and to execute around your why. And so everybody on this call, you are a mortgage coach member, you have edge, but are you delivering a total cost analysis to each and every borrower? And unfortunately, the answer is no. And I know a very clear truth that if the answer was yes, one, everybody would be living their why at a lot deeper levels, and everybody would be extraordinarily more successful because you're just delivering that each and every time. So John, let's have you share one, what is your why, both professionally as a loan officer, and let's align that a little bit, secondarily to mortgage coach, because I have that. I'll put that up on the screen, and then let's talk about how you're bringing that into your conversations with customers and clients.
Sure. Thanks, Dave, and thanks, Tim. The big, my why, and I really enjoyed the Leadership 360, the Costa Rica event. It was a great event, but they really did, they started with that TED Talks Sinek piece, and I thought it was a great way to start. I have been kind of working in the business, and it's almost like the business has been working me for a number of years because of the volume and the nature of my repeat business. It just seems like sometimes the business has driven me, and it was great to kind of take a step back and get outside of phones and outside of the busyness of life, and really look at what are my whys. And when I really did that inner work, the biggest thing that came to me is just I really just want to connect with people. I like making my clients into my friends, and then their clients again, and they're still friends. And the more I can get in a human relationship with my customers, the more fun it makes my work. And so, just that if I'm helping my friends get a new house, and really all I did was organize some details, and a lot of other things got put into place, they get a new home. They're kind of fulfilling the American dream, and I get to be a part of that. So that's kind of my, cheesy, why on the inside. But it really is true that it's just kind of fun selling money and getting paid for it. And especially when it's for my friends and I get to make a difference in their lives. Kind of how that works, and my mortgage coach why is, somewhat similar to that. And it's just that I want to really be an educator to my customers. If I first seek to understand them and really ask them what's important about, their down payment issues, what's important about the monthly qualifying income issues. If I ask them these what's important questions, I can ascertain and understand my customers' why. That process of listening to what their important things are, I think, is just the most foundational key to building the trust with the customer. Once we've established that trust where we really understand kind of what their issues are, why they're important to them, then it's about that execution and delivering the information that hopefully addresses their concerns and deals with what they what's important to them, so that we can tailor the right mortgage to fit them. And the Mortgage Coach Edge is my execution strategy, so I can communicate that information efficiently and making it actionable, so that the customer can quickly and easily say, yep, let's go, and then we move on with paperwork and moving on down the road. So I like using the edge is really part of my execution strategy to answer on my why.
Yeah, no, it makes lots of sense. Tim, anything you want to add
Yeah,
to that, or any questions you have?
no, I'd love to just cement in a couple of things that I heard John say. I mean, I think it's always nice to just repeat a few of the key points that I think were brilliant in what he said. The first thing that I heard him say was that he's very clear that his why, in terms of why he's in this business, is to connect with people. So I want you to think about that for a minute. If that is his driving force, to connect, and that's what he comes into work every day as his kind of his mantra, if you will, that really drives all of his activities, and that's why he's a successful owner originator. That's why he has a lot of referral partners. That's why all of his clients come back, because he's very clear, and this is what I was talking about earlier. He is crystal clear on what is important: developing relationships, deep, connected relationships. And then from there, what I heard him say is he first, he embodies that Stephen Covey phrase of first seek to understand and then be understood. So he first goes into that connected relationship wanting to understand what's important to that person and what their needs are, by asking a lot of what we refer to in the Leadership 360 program as open-ended questions that really get people to express themselves and share what their core values are. And from that place of then understanding and connecting with that person, he uses this phenomenal tool that is the Mortgage Coach to really help them have what they want by displaying the different loan options and educating them through that process. And I think that it's really that methodology that is the home run of connecting and educating and really understanding what someone's needs are and then solving their needs for them.
Well said, and a great wrap up. And I guess the only thing I would add to that, I've been saying this now for several weeks. As I interview top loan officers, and I haven't found one that has broken this rule yet. They are all likable, and it's pretty obvious when you hear them talk that they have a likability factor, and they all deliver value. How they are likable and who they are. I mean, they're as unique as a fingerprint, and how they are delivering value. It's unique, but they've got that likability factor, that value equation, IQ. And obviously here in Mortgage Coach, they're using Mortgage Coach to just make them even more likable, more trustable, and create more value. So John, let's kind of transition this into two folds. One, let's go a little bit more into why selling. How are you integrating what you've learned from Tim and kind of some personal awareness that you've had. How are you integrating that in your conversations with realtors? And then let's take it into borrowers, and let's kind of do a couple success stories around, how you're connecting with home buyers, what you're saying before you deliver an edge report, and what you're saying after. But let's go ahead and start with realtors.
On the realtor side of things, the best way that I'm integrating the edge for them is just giving them the confidence. Part of what I think is the biggest problem in the business today is that the rate and speed and quantity of information that's flying at our customers. If they just type the word mortgage into their Google thing, they're going to have a whole relationship with their computer about interest rates and fees, and there's just a ton of noise and clutter out there. So, one of the things that the realtors try to do is say, hey, you need to quiet all that clutter. John gives you a very concise, neat presentation of what your options are, what the interest rates are. It's competitive with the market. We need to quiet the noise and listen to one good source. So that's the way we're using it with realtors, is just to try to give them the confidence, because at least in our market in Denver, one of the key problems for realtors is customers choosing their own lender out in the internet or choosing their own lender out in the world, and then having those transactions not go smoothly. It also seems that all transactions nowadays are faster than they were, and some of my other industry peers have also been saying it seems like the deals are even just a little bit harder and more challenging. So because it's like more expertise is needed, they're flying at a quicker pace, and there's more confusing clutter out there. We need to give them some kind of a specific way, and so I try to coach my realtors to teach their customers that I'm kind of give them the best expert advice and do it efficiently and cleanly, so that they don't have to pay attention to all the noise.
You've said that in a pretty unique and different way. I mean, I've asked that question to a number of loan officers, but I mean, did everybody catch that? I mean, the way he's positioning Edge is to improve the confidence and to just make it simpler, get through the clutter. So I love the way you put that, man. Tim, anything you
the
want
other
to add
thing,
to that?
Dave,
Yeah.
I'll back up on that. Is I heard this really cool, or read this thing on something lately, but that information there's no shortage of information, but it's almost like too much information can be overwhelming and confusing and time wasting, so to speak. And so what people really want is actionable knowledge, that there's some trust and some confidence in it, and this makes sense, let's go forward, let's get this over with, let's move on with the rest of our priorities in life. Because as people are, home buyers are moving, they have a lot of considerations to make, and getting stuck in the clutter of should they pay points or not is kind of academic to the matter. And if we really understand their true human emotions and their goals and their whys, we just kind of help them get through this part efficiently, so it's not a big deal. They get clarity on which mortgage options are available, they choose one, and you move on and you get on with the next customer.
Love
Dave,
it.
can I jump in on a couple things he said that I think were really powerful?
Jump on it.
Okay, so that last part that he said, I just really want to echo that. Like, I think that everybody on this call should be really evaluating their presentation and looking at it from a perspective of, is it tight, or is it too verbose, and is there too much wasted space where maybe you're on the phone with that client initially for 25 minutes and you can pare it down to 15 powerful minutes or even 10 powerful minutes. I mean, I had my presentation kind of in my prime, so to speak. It was a two-step presentation. The first call was about 8 to 10 minutes, and the second call, when I'm reviewing the total cost analysis with them, was 20 minutes max, and they were going to a 10:03 from there. It was super tight. There wasn't any wasted space. I kept getting rid of parts of the presentation that just weren't necessary, because not only are people, as John just stated, really looking for the bottom line, but also you don't want to dilute your power scripts in your delivery with stuff that just isn't needed. The other thing that I really want to emphasize to everybody that John stated so brilliantly, and I think it ties totally, Dave, into your why situation, is teach your agents how you want to be sold. Teach them why they should be getting you in front of that client as early in the process as possible. Okay? And in order for you to do that, you need to make very clear to them what your why is. So if your why is, in John's case, to educate consumers so they can make the best possible financial decision in the most efficient way, and they can get really comfortable with moving forward with buying a home, we need to teach our realtors that why. So they're very clear on why they should be introducing John Weller, in this case, to their clients at the very beginning of the process. And the best way to do that is to grab, and this is your perfect excuse, to grab coffee with them. I'd like to take you for a cup of coffee for 20 minutes, and I want to treat you as if you were one of your buyers that you refer to me. And I want to walk you through step by step exactly what it is that I say to them and what I present to them. And you bring a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis with you, or you bring your laptop, and you show them the numbers that you show and why you show them and how you educate the client. From that place, they will see your value, understand your why, and integrate you into the selling process much earlier than perhaps you're getting integrated into it now.
Powerful, powerful stuff. And by the way, also, pull out your iPad, pull out your Android phone. You can now have that conversation anywhere, anytime, with a mobile device. So John, let's get a little tactical here, because I think everybody on this call gets it at a high conceptual level, but I do think that there are loan officers that have a better conversation before and after the TCA. So let's just whether we turn this into a role play or whether you just kind of describe, what questions are you asking? How are you setting expectations with the buyer so that when they get the TCA, they're like, wow, I really appreciate it. I mean, it's not just a random thing without expectations and values. So how are you doing that?
Right. Well, so I sent you that one, which was for a client named Jeff Phipps. It's kind of like he was trying to do a 10% down deal, and it was the consideration of should do an 80-10-10 or do regular PMI or something else. And the first sort of tactical part on the front side of that is he's a repeat client who's going to buy a house. I don't just say, okay, we'll fill out an application and get you a loan. I'm asking him, hey, what's important about this to you? And it turned out it was, because he's growing his family. He'd had another baby. So there's a human connection and a trust thing there that's kind of fun. It's like an enjoyable part of my day to catch up with one of my good customers. And then in asking about, what about the transaction? How much does he want to put down? And we talked about, kind of avoiding jumbo and making it be, a 10% down with some kind of creative solution. And in that understanding what was important to him about the money, it was so he could use that money for, establishing education funds, for, improving the new house. He had important needs for it, but wanted to manage his monthly payment too. So after I kind of understood that, then I put together the TCA and I sent you one of them. And essentially, as I showed him the 80-10-10, regular PMI, and then lender paid single, I got present that he didn't like the risk of the second mortgage. It just wasn't quite comfortable. And frankly, I don't like doing second mortgages if I don't have to anyway. So it's like, okay, good. He's not comfortable with the risk. Let's, understand his why and then show him the other two. And then I complimented him because he had a great score, so we could get good lender paid PMI. It harvested like $55 a month by going with this lender paid upfront PMI rather than doing monthly. And so I was able to kind of identify a place to give him a little bit of a quality benefit, and then essentially I gave him a way to look at it to save himself $55 a month. So he sees some tangible value from the advice, has all the sense of gratitude and relationship in our relationship. It makes it easier for him to refer me people in the future. And then it also makes him feel like he's a smart guy. He wants to analyze the details. He can see, hey, if I choose the third option, I save $55 a month. It doesn't cost me anything. There's no risk. And then, it just adds a bunch of value. And then we actually even then tagged on to that, hey, real estate values are appreciating quickly in our area. If values appreciate 10%, and we can get you to where you can maybe get more value so that you could get, a lower combined mortgage, we might be able to harvest a refinance in the near future if rates stay low and get some values. So that was kind of the end part of it, but then the information pretty much spoke for itself, and it made it really easy for the client to say, okay, let's go. We want to do this, the single premium PMI, and the consideration process was over pretty much as soon as the information was conveyed the first time, and he felt like he made an informed decision.
So first of all, that made lots of sense. It was very elegant. I mean, I think it was very clear to everybody that you really know who that person is, you know what they want, and you've got an expertise to present options in both a very tailored way and a very simple way. So that was powerful and kind of a learning. I have a lot of loan officers that will say, well, I'll send the link, but people won't click on it. So I mean, and I know that didn't happen to Tim, and I don't think that happens to you often, because you've set between the way that you email it to them, or you send it to them, and the way that you've created expectation, they're like waiting for this. So what are you saying? Well, first of all, let's make sure, what percentage of your clients, when you send an edge report and a link, that they actually open it and look at it? Is that something?
I would assume 100. It's like I would just assume 100%. And I do send it as an attachment sometimes, in addition to sending it as a link, because I do have some older-fashioned customers, and they want to print it out and look at it. Or I'll also have a printed out copy when I meet with them to do their face-to-face. It's kind of an old-fashioned thing I like to do, but I like to meet with the customers if I can to do paperwork. It's not a necessary step, but I use it as a kind of a place to plant seeds for referrals in the future, and to sort of forward the relationship part of the stuff that I like to do.
Yeah,
so
well,
especially if it's customers, I'm doing their fifth loan together. I didn't do a face-to-face loan app with them on all 5, but I'd like to do one on this one if I can, because I just want to connect them in the best way possible. It just makes it more fun when I'm doing volume if I'm having real face-to-face meetings with customers. So I'll sometimes use it as a prop piece, just as a printed out thing too. Just kind of low tech.
Well, first of all, that makes all the sense in the world. I mean, we power a modern way to deliver it, and to me, a modern way to deliver it is to give people what they want wherever they want it. And that means if they want paper, which by the way, sometimes I want a paper, so print it out and make it easy to have paper. And if I want to open it on my mobile device or my computer, I want it wherever I'm at. I want to have that information the way I want it. So everybody make note, John is making sure he's anticipating what's the channel in which they want to receive the information. Now,
usually Dave, on purchases, it's usually electronic. When I do refis, especially, I'm trying to harvest a benefit. So a lot of times I'll use the tool of face-to-face. Before I'm doing the paperwork process and putting the customer through the process, I'm making sure they're really, really tangibly clear on the why are we doing this real estate transaction? Like, why are we refinancing? It's like, okay, we're getting rid of PMI and we're shortening our term to 15 years. That was the other one I sent you. It's like, what's the why here? And then that one had to do with, like, kids' education. Maybe we'll segue into that another way, but I always think it's, I know refis are not like the in thing to do, but traditionally I've always had, 40 to 50% of my originations are refinances, and then 80 or 90% of my refinances are to my past clients and then the people they work with. So the whole refi thing is something that I just never, I try to never starve that. I always want to be recasting my mortgages for my past clients because, like I say, they're my friends and it's nice to catch up and then we get to do another transaction.
Yeah, well, it makes all the sense in the world. So guys, let's net this out because I know Tim has some more learnings that I want to make sure we have time to get into. So when you're forwarding this TCA, if you could just script one sentence so that people are like, they know that they're getting this link or they know they're getting this attachment. Okay. What do you say so that when they get it, they're excited to have it?
Okay, so for Jeff Phipps, it's like, hey Jeff, thanks for talking today. Based on what you're saying about the down payment, I really get it that you're trying to minimize the monthly payment expense. You don't really like the risk of the second mortgage situation, and you just want to minimize the payment. I'm going to send you a total cost analysis after we complete our call, and it'll show you the 3 options, and it'll clearly articulate, and you crunch the numbers for yourself, and then you can let me know which way you want to go. And I think you'll be leaning towards the single lender paid PMI. But give me your feedback, and I really want to hear your honest feedback about what's most important for you.
Great. So folks, my takeaway for any young loan officer asked me this today, in the subject line, put their name, and in John's case, put total cost analysis. So, John Phelps, total cost analysis would be in the subject line. John, it was great connecting with you today. I really want your candid feedback on this total cost analysis that I put together. Click on this link and you can see for yourself which option is best for you. I mean, lean, mean, and highly personalized. Tim, anything you want to add to that?
There's plenty that I want to add, but I know that you're tight on time, so we can just keep scooting around, man.
Well, you know what? We have we have enough time because we've got 20 minutes, and I think your session is 10 minutes, and your scripting is crazy good. So give us 2 to 3 minutes of Tim Braheem scripting, do your script on what John just did.
Okay, I was thinking a little bit different. I can probably pull a script out of my pocket here in a minute if I need to, but what I really wanted to just say was that something that John said that I think is really, really important is that I really cannot emphasize enough. I'm not one who has ever bought into this. There are a lot of people out there that say that refis are a bad way to go, and it's that they cripple your business and all of this stuff that I just don't agree with. I mean, I think that okay, so here's my script, right? So here's one of the real power scripts that I used to use that I think is really important, and it ties into what I'm about to say, which is and I'll use you, Dave, as my mock client. Dave, if I'm doing my job correctly, my job really just begins when your first loan closes with me, because from there it's my job to assist you in managing the largest indebtedness that you'll ever take on in your life. Most people that do what I do for a living, they provide the debt and then they just walk away and they leave you with what in many cases could be debt that is completely obsolete. So I'm not going to make that same mistake. I'm going to manage your debt for you going forward, just like an investment advisor would manage your portfolio. And when I see there are opportunities to rewrite your loan and lower the cost of that debt, you can be rest assured I'm going to be very proactive in doing so. And all future refinances that you do with me will be done at no points, no fees. Of course, I only say that to somebody who's got about a $250,000 loan amount or higher, because you kind of need that loan balance to be able to do it. And what I'm doing is I'm setting up the next deal. I'm pre-selling the next refi, whether it be 3 months from now or 3 years from now. And then I'm using the total cost analysis to continually compare and contrast their existing loan that I put them in to whatever else the market has as its opportunities. And the thing that I want to just add, and I know that John feels this way about it, and you know, this was a part of my bread and butter when I was a loan officer, and why I did such big numbers, is that I was constantly culling my database and looking at the existing debt situations that my clients were in, and looking for opportunities to decrease the cost of that debt for them. And in many cases, gang, I will tell you, more often than not, for sure, the 30-year fixed is the wrong loan. I would say that that's probably the biggest mistake that a loan originator makes, is that they put way too many clients into 30-year fixed rate mortgages when that's really not the best loan for your client. Most people are not in their loan for more than 5 to 7 years. And now that the yield curve is starting to get more normalized, and you've got a pretty decent reduction in spread between a 30-year and a 7-year and a 5-year, I really encourage you to start looking into those types of products, 2-1 buy downs, some of those other types of loans, the hybrid arms, etc., that are in many cases more appropriate. And the way that you know that it's more appropriate is by simply asking your client the question, how long do you need to borrow this money for? And the answer to that question is driven greatly by everything from how long you're going to be in the home for, to what are the probabilities that you're going to add on to this home, what are the probabilities that you may want to do a substantial remodel, or take cash out for your kid's college, or buy a second home, or that you're going to have a probability perhaps of even getting further substantial increases in income because your intentions are to climb in the company that you're in. The last thing that I'll say is a classic example is, most loan originators will put a first-time home buyer that is a newly married couple that doesn't have kids but intends to have 2 or 3, and they just are buying their first house at 1,200 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they're in their early 30s, and they're putting them into a 30-year fixed. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's not the right loan for most of those people. Most of those people are not going to be in that home 7 years from now, and you can get them a much better rate if you have them in a 7-1 arm, as an example. So that script combined with that philosophy made a lot of money doing that, and I know John has as well.
So first of all, I love the way you pull the script out of your back pocket. I love that, Tim. So folks, I mean, we just made another case. Not only is delivering a total cost analysis, just executing on everybody on this call, you have this why, that I'm an educator. You wouldn't be investing money in Mortgage Coach. You wouldn't be investing an hour of your time right now if you didn't believe in the concept that I'm an advisor, I'm an educator. The question is, are you executing on that? And now Tim just added another rock to the way why you should be doing it, is it's part of positioning yourself to be managing their mortgage, to be managing their debt. If when you make a decision, you're just rate hacking and you're saying, hey, I can get you this rate or that rate, are you really positioning yourself to be an educator and to help them with their next loan, whether that's a move up in 3 to 5 years with someone who's growing in income and lifestyle, or whether that is some cause-driven refinance that's unrelated? Are you positioning yourself? And I make the conclusion, if everybody's not getting a total cost analysis, you're not delivering on your why, and you're not positioning yourself and executing around being a mortgage planner. So guys, let's transition. When I was doing prep for this call, and I was asking John, what have you learned from Tim in the year that you've been doing this deep dive, this genius grid? I'm like, what's the genius grid? And so Tim, I know you have some vision around this and you want to share with everybody. So what are we looking at, and how does this apply to John?
Yeah, the first thing that I just want to say is that, for me, it's just like so fun to get to know people on such a deep level like I have with John. I mean, I feel like a deep friendship with him, and I know him very well. I was just actually in Denver for 2 days with him and his team, and we got to spend a lot of good quality time together. And one of the nice things about Leadership 360 is that, in that year that I'm with those 8 loan originators that are part of that program, I'm with them, almost 2 full weeks live between the 3 retreats that we do in person. And the thing about John that I think makes him a very special loan officer and very, very good at what he does is that he really understands time management, and he understands what the real definition of time management is. If you really analyze his day, and this is a guy who, he's saying, I'm having a terrible year and I'm doing 20 deals a month right now, which is a darn good year in most people's book. But the one part that he didn't mention is that he doesn't work a lick over 35 hours a week, no matter what. No matter how busy he is, it doesn't matter if he's doing 40 deals a month or 20 deals a month, he's working the same 35, maximum 40 hours a week, and is a pretty balanced guy in his life. And that has a lot to do with understanding this grid. It has a lot to do with understanding what time management really is. So let's just first define and understand that time management is kind of a misnomer in its title, in the sense that you really can't manage time. What time management really is, and most people think of time management from the tactical, like, what do you use, what mechanism do you use, OmniFocus, do you use Outlook and the task features in Outlook, do you use a Franklin Covey organizer, or any of the various technological platforms that are available in the marketplace today. And it's a bit of a short-sighted view of it. That comprises maybe 20-25% of what time management really is. Time management is about getting super clear on your hell yeses and your hell nos. And what is it that you're going to say no to every day? And what is it that you're going to say yes to? And so therefore, it really should be renamed as task management or priority management rather than time management. Because the way that we manage time, folks, is just by simply becoming disciplined as to where we spend our time, because we all have the same amount of it. And the model that we teach, I mean, it's such an important subject matter. I mean, when people complete an application to be coached by me, by far the lowest rated category, because I ask people to rank on a scale of 1 to 10, their marketing, their scripting, their team. The lowest category always is balance in their life. And then the second lowest category is always time management. And the two are directly related to each other. People feel out of balance because they don't feel like they're managing their time correctly, because they're choosing to spend their time in areas that really bring them down emotionally and energetically. So we have this model that you're looking at, which is the Genius Grid. And it's loosely based upon a book that you've probably heard me mention before, written by Gay Hendricks, Hendricks, The Big Leap. Great book. It's a requirement for all Leadership 360 clients to read prior to going on retreat in Costa Rica. And the reason is because we spend the entire first day of our 7-day retreat really getting clear on time management and what our day really needs to look like. Because if you don't really have clarity on that, you're going to fill your day with things that are not high payoff and high emotional payoff activities. So let's take a look at the grid. Bottom right-hand box is what we call the zone of incompetence or non-competent. Okay? The bottom left-hand grid is the zone of competence. The top left-hand grid is the zone of excellence, and the top right-hand grid is the zone of genius. Okay? Now, the non-competent and competent box in the lower half of this page is divided by that yellow line that you see that separates it from excellence and genius. And we call this the energy line. Okay, so above that line in the excellence and genius box, you are in a high energy state. You're above the line energetically. And below that line in the competence and non-competence box, you're in a low energy state, below the line as we refer to it in the program. So let's get a little deeper into these 4 boxes. Zone of non-competence is exactly what it states. These are the things that you do every day, both in your business and in your personal life, okay, that you are not competent at. By definition, you are not good at these things. The experience that you have when you're doing them is that when you're in your non-competence box, okay, time goes by very slow. You may do something that takes an hour and it feels like 3 hours. You're energetically wiped out at the end of the activity. For me, it would be putting my kids' toys together on Christmas morning back in the day when they were real little. I'm not any good at it. It requires me reading a ton of directions. and the result will be very poor. Their toys won't be put together correctly. And more importantly, it just feels like it takes forever. And I want you to really think of time management from the perspective of you start your day and you have 100 energy chips, okay? And at some point in time, you run out of these energy chips. And in some people's lives, you're running out of these energy chips at lunchtime. And you're just burning through them because you're spending all kinds of time doing things that you really don't like doing. You're on the phone with underwriters. You're fighting with appraisers. You're trying to get a VOD completed, et cetera, et cetera. And you're asking yourself, why am I doing this? And it's draining you energetically. And then you need to use sugar and caffeine and all these types of things to jack yourself back up just to get through the day. And you got to go home and have a couple of cocktails to bring yourself back down because you had to spike yourself with caffeine, and you need to be able to go to bed. And life becomes very unhealthy when we're spending a lot of time below the line in this non-competence stuff. Moving over to the bottom left-hand box, this is the most seductive box. It's the zone of competence. And the reason that it's so seductive is because by definition, it is the activities that you do every day that you are competent at, meaning that the result of you doing these activities is a fairly favorable one. You get it done, and people reward you for it emotionally, and that's why it's so seductive. They say, hey, great job, or maybe you take a 2-hour 10:03 and you really bond with the client, but you're kind of operating under the illusion that you need to be spending a couple of hours with somebody face to face and chewing up a ton of your time, because at the end the person says, hey, thanks, it was really nice to meet with you. And we keep doing these activities, and we find that when we do the analysis in this first day of retreat, that this is the box that is the most filled. These are this category is the one that most loan originators are spending a ton of their day in. And they're good enough at it to where they get that emotional reward and that thank you that kind of continues to have them sucked into it. But by definition, it's still energetically below the line. It's kind of like the equivalent of a salmon swimming upstream to spawn. I mean, they get there with all the blood, sweat, and tears and effort, but at the end of the day, they're wiped out and they die. Okay? And this is the box that we really find that we need to take the deepest look at. The category, the characteristic, if you will, is it's low ROE, low return on energy, so you're burning a lot of energy chips to get it done, and neutral ROI, meaning that the return on the investment of time financially from an ROI perspective is neutral. Maybe you can make a case that you should keep doing it from an ROI perspective, but we tend to look at things through just the lens of ROI and not focus enough on where are we at internally within ourselves and how do we feel energetically, and are we able to kind of really sustain this type of activity and feel up and positive and clear inside. So those are the two below the line boxes energetically. They're both characterized by low ROE, and in the case of non-competence, very low ROI and low ROE, and the case of competence, neutral ROI, low ROE. When we go above the line, okay, the top left-hand box, we have what we call the zone of excellence. And if you spent most of your day, both in your personal and business life, in this box, doing activities that you're truly excellent at, it would be a pretty darn good life. The characteristics of it are that it is neutral as it relates to time, meaning if I spend 3 hours on this activity, it feels like 3 hours. I'm not wiped out at the end, and I'm not invigorated at the end of that period of time. I'm good. These are things that I'm excellent at, that truly give me a high payoff financially, so the ROI is high and the ROE is neutral. And again, if you spent most of your day working within your zone of excellence, you would have great financial success, and for the most part, you'd be pretty happy. When we go over to the top right-hand box, which is the final box, this is the special place that we all want to try to strive to reside in our time management, and where we try to really get people into this place within the one-year program of Leadership 360, constantly evaluating what the things are that they're choosing to do every day. We call this the Genius Zone. And the Genius Zone is a special place to reside in the Dan Sullivan Strategic Coach Program. It would be known as Unique Ability. It's the one or two things, and there are only usually a couple, that you're really gifted at. I mean, it's what you were put on this earth to do in this lifetime. you are better at it than just about anybody else. The element of time is very interesting. Time kind of stands still. So you spend an hour doing it, and it feels like 15 minutes. And you're done, and you're like, wow, I actually feel great. You actually gain energy chips when you're in these 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 activities. For me, it's really clear. Like if any of you happen to be at Stephen Marshall's event in early June, at the end of the seminar, I did live Q&A for 2.5 hours. That's my genius zone, and that's why I do it, because when I'm done, I feel great inside. Time goes by lightning fast for me. It comes very natural and very easy. It's why I love doing my Leadership 360 program, because that's essentially what I'm doing for the entire week. It's just coaching and helping, and I'm in my element. And so it's the beautiful thing about it is when you uncover those 1 or 2 things that are your uniqueness, your genius, not only is it high ROE, meaning that your energy is just at a heightened state, but it's also extremely high ROI, because by definition, you're really good at it, so people are willing to pay a lot of money for it. So this is the box that we try to get everyone to uncover. Essentially what we're doing is we take an inventory, and this is the advice that I give to you in closing, is do a full inventory of a week of your life. Every 30 minutes, write down what you have just done over the past 30 minutes. That may seem like a laborious activity, and it is, but it's also incredibly rewarding and incredibly revealing. And once you're done with this inventory of your life, starting from the time that you wake up until the time that you go to bed at night, after the course of a week, you're going to have several sheets of paper that just kind of itemize out all the things that you've done. You just drop them into these boxes, and you start to realize, wow, there are a lot of things that I'm doing below the line, and that's why I'm unhappy, and that's why I'm not making as much money as I'd like to make. Well, here's the beauty of it. This also becomes the model for who you need to make as your next hire on your team, the next person you need to bring into your life, to take out of your life all of the things that are below the line for you. Because guess what? There are things that you're doing that are in your competence and non-competence box that are below the line for you, that somebody else in this world, if they were doing those activities, they'd be above the line because it's their unique ability. And that becomes kind of the model and framework for who you hire next. You take these activities, and Dave, you met Julie in Vegas, and you know, John knows Julie intimately well because she's a part of our team. You know, so many of the things that were below the line for me are above the line for Julie, and that's why she was the perfect hire. And she just took all of these things off my plate so I could spend most of my time in my excellence and genius boxes. And life has gotten a lot more balanced, a lot happier, and a lot more joyful for me as a result of it. So that's just a real important thing that I wanted to share with everyone for the last 10 minutes of this call. And Dave, I'll toss it back to you.
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, I think this call has been action-packed. You know, we've talked about why, we've got tactical around how to get clear on your why and how to execute on your why in mortgage coach land, and now, you know, big picture around just priority management. Now, Tim, I know you do a retreat. If you wouldn't mind, we've only got a few minutes left, but tell us a little bit about your retreat for anybody that wants to learn more about it.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Real quick, right now we are reviewing applications for Leadership 360 fall of 2014. It's a 1-year program. It starts with a 1-week business and life planning retreat in Costa Rica that's really special. I think John would certainly hear that. It's an amazing week, and you come home with a full 3 to 5 year business and life plan. And then the next 12 months of the program are all about helping you implement that plan. It's a 5-star event in every way. We have 2 3-day retreats here in Southern California in months 6 and 12. The group stays together for the whole year. We have private coaching every single month. We have group masterminding calls every single month where the team, you know, of 8 loan originators and the 3 coaches are collaborating on specific subject matters. It's an application process. Don't count yourself out. There are a lot of people who think, well, I got to be a 30 loan a month person to be in this program. That's not true. It is a holistic program, 360 degrees of your life. We coach you on everything. I would tell you it's between 55 and 60% business, and 45 and 40% non-business, life, communication skills, how to get home earlier, how to spend more intimacy with your spouse, with your family, and how to really take good care of yourself. The process is real simple. Just shoot me an email. Here's my email address. Please ask that you keep the emails solely to this program, because I don't really have too much time right now because of all the interviewing that I'm doing to answer a lot of questions outside of Leadership 360. My email is TB as in boy, RAHEEM as in Mike, Braheem @gmail.com. Shoot me an email. Just simply say I'm interested. I'll introduce you to Julie, who's on my team. She'll get you information on the program. She'll get you an application. We're currently waiving the application fee. What will happen is when you get the application back to us, Julie will then set a time for a 1-hour one-on-one call with me. That interview will involve me coaching you and helping you in your business and anything else that you need help on. So it's, I think, a pretty valuable call that doesn't cost you anything. And it'll allow for us to get a real feel for whether or not it's a good fit to be working together in the next year. We do have 5 spots available as of right now. So please get that information into me quickly, and would love to connect with you and see if this is a good fit for both of us. And thanks, Dave, for letting me have the opportunity to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, you're a great leader in the mortgage coach community and an iconic loan officer. If you have not watched Tim Braheem's, it's just a 20 to 25-minute video on the perfect loan process. It's on our YouTube page. Check it out. Reminder to everybody to watch the 4-minute video that I highlighted today. Just makes a tremendous case, and also just gives you some great insight, as John put it earlier, actionable insights to bring to realtors. I want to remind everybody that not only do we do this call every Tuesday, next week's call is going to be awesome. I've got David Bach, a pretty famous, well-known top financial planner. He's going to be talking about how to really connect emotionally with women in the financial decision-making process. So he's going to be giving a TED presentation around how mortgage professionals can better deliver both emotionally and intellectually to women within financial decisions. And then we're going to have former Navy SEAL Phil Black talking about how a Navy SEAL gets over call reluctance. So kind of an interesting call. 2 amazing guests. Check it out. This Tuesday, every Thursday at 9 o'clock, we do training, and every Friday we do beginners training. So hopefully everybody, you got some inspiration, you got some ideas to be a better mortgage coach, to deliver a modern mortgage experience to home buyers and realtors. A huge thank you to John Weller and Tim Braheem. John, since you didn't get the final word, I'll give you the final word as we wrap up today's call.
Thank you, Dave. I just want to say thanks for all you and Mortgage Coach have done for me in my life. It's been I've been touched and inspired and driven to greatness. And same thing with Tim. Tim's a great coach. I'd encourage people to check out the L360, even if not for this year, for next year. 100% of everybody I have talked to that has done it has thought it was a perfect 10. So good luck to both of you, and I appreciate you letting me be part of your call.
Hey, it's an honor to have both of you. Please, as you leave the call, give us a score. Let us know what you thought of today's call on a score of 1 through 5, 5 being great. Tim, thanks, brother. Appreciate the time for the call.
You.
Look forward to our next conversation. Take care, John.
Thanks,
Thanks, you guys, very much. Have a good day, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.